One. Fantastic. Thanks. I think the recording is on now. So, okay. What are the specializations within computer science that seem to be most popular? First, as you guessed it, artificial intelligence slash data, right? So within artificial intelligence and data, there's a bunch of stuff that exists that you want to, wrap your mind around. Understand the fact that with AI, it's a relatively newer sort of specialization that has come up as a formal specialization in the last 5 years or so, 5 maybe 8 years max. Before that, it was a statistics or a computer plus statistics sort of a specialization that existed. Within AI, the kinds of courses that people take up to make the AI specialization are anything around the lines of intro to machine learning, intro to deep learning, maybe natural language processing, etc. Those are some of the most common elective subjects that people take to make up the specialization for the AI specialization. All right, let's talk about the next one. The next one, and one of the biggest one at traditional computer science institutes, is going to be the theory or systems specializations. Computer systems or operating systems, these are things that actually drive the entire planet, starting from the operating system that I'm on, Mac OS, or your Windows, or the operating system that needs to go into a router that is powering your internet, or the elevator that's going up and down the building, etc. All of these have underlying operating systems, right? So all of these are things that are basically run by one specialization called the systems or the theory, computer theory specialization. Next, something that has emerged because of the advent of applications and people using applications on a multiple variety of devices is called the HCI specialization, the human computer interaction. For anybody who's wanting to design better powered applications, for anybody who's trying to figure out if, I place this button here, does that lead to extra conversions for me, etc. All of that, plus a lot more. Of course, I'm oversimplifying, but a lot more of that is covered with the HCI specialization. Next, computer networks is another specialization that's essentially powering the internet as of today. Cybersecurity is another specialization. And so there's a list, we'll put that list out. But suffice it to say that computer science masters is probably one of the biggest in terms of the range of specializations and electives that you can take up. Second question, and I think this is the reason why everybody on this call seems to be here, and that is who gets into a computer science masters and why. My voice is very low. Is that true for everybody, or is that just true for Sanyukta? Voice is low. Interesting. Okay, let me try and speak up a little bit, but should be okay. All right, let's talk about who gets into computer science. In the past, I've gotten a lot of brickbats for this answer, but this answer is basically based on as many facts as possible, as much data that I have personally collected in terms of admissions that have been happening for the last 7 years, and just plain and simple based on logic plus the curriculum. Based on these three factors, if you have an undergraduate degree in computer science, you're a straightforward fit for a master's degree in computer science. So all of you that have an undergrad in computer science, do not worry about it. You will qualify for a master's in CS. For everybody else, and I think that's a decent sized audience that I have, depending on the poll that you answered. For everybody else that does not come from a bachelor's in computer science, despair not, there's still a way, but only and only if you've taken some prerequisite courses during your undergrad. Prerequisite courses during your undergrad need to be the 4 or 5 core courses that I've set up about, right? So one of the biggest things that I would highly recommend that you think about is, if you are in your third or maybe even fourth year before getting out of college, if there is a way for you as a mechanical engineer, as a civil guy, as a data science guy, as an ECE guy, etc., whatever, right? If there's a chance for you to take those 4 or 5 prerequisite courses, I would highly recommend that you take them. Again, recapping what those prerequisite courses are. One, data structures, algorithms. Very, very important course. Without either the analysis of algorithms or the DSA course, there's no getting into a master's in computer science. not even with getting in and then doing the prerequisites. There's just no getting in. Second, object-oriented programming. These are two things that if you don't have, I don't think a master's in computer science degree will be the right fit for you. Apart from these two, there are a few other prerequisites which are great to have or good to have. But even if you don't have them, you might be able to apply to a few computer science master's degrees and expect a positive result, right? What are the rest of the three core courses? I said DBMS, I said operating systems, and I said computer networks. If these are three plus the other two, which is object-oriented programming and DSA, these are the 5 core courses within computer science. If you have DSA and object-oriented programming, you qualify to apply to majority of the masters in computer science programs in the US. If you have the other 3 as well, you, irrespective of what your undergraduate degree is called, you will 100% be allowed to apply for a degree. Okay. If you don't have any of these subjects, stay away from a master's in computer science, apply to something that is peripheral, a data science degree, a computer engineering degree, a software engineering degree, an information systems degree, or a business analytics degree. If you do not have prerequisites and you have a good profile, do not make the mistake of applying to a master's in computer science, because that is only going to lead to rejects, at least at the really good universities. Instead, look at applying to some of the peripheral degrees, which everything is going to essentially move into a software engineering role, right? Most of these peripheral degrees also give you the exact same opportunities as the computer science masters is going to give you. You just want to make sure that you get the best possible skill out of these degrees as much as you can. All right, so that's the second question, which is who gets in and why. Third, and this is again one of the anticipated sort of things on the webinar for today, is which kind of universities should I target? I'm going to break that down into 2 tiers. And in the later webinars that we do, I will go more detailed on specifically the shortlisting. I want to pause for 1 second here, just look through some of the questions and start answering those. But in the meanwhile, guys, it is impossible for me to go through every single question that's going to be there and for me to answer every single one of those. It is also impossible for me to delve deeper into your particular profile and then try and answer that profile related questions. So the free consultation call is going to be available for you to take up. It's completely free. It's 30 minutes of your time where you can talk about your aspirations, your goals, what you actually want to do with a computer science degree, and figure out which universities you will be able to get into. One of the things that we promise we will do if you are coming through this webinar is we will give you a resume template that has been used by last year. So for 2024 guys, to be able to get into 100 plus people that have got into Ivy League institutions. Every single one of the students at Gradvine has gotten into a top 50 for their course, which means that absolutely is a must win for you. So if not for anything else, just for that resume template, go ahead and schedule your free consultation call. All right. The third topic for today is we're going to talk about some institutions that make sense if you're a tier 1 applicant and a tier 2 applicant. I'm going to divide what these tiers generally mean. And then in the future webinars, I'm going to go deeper into how you do the shortlisting for a computer science degree. Tier 1 institutions / tier 1 applicants. Tier 1 applicants, anybody who has above 8 or 8.2 on their GPA. 8.2 and above on a scale of 10 is a fantastic GPA that automatically qualifies you to be a tier 1 applicant. GRE, 100% required. Maybe something above a 312, 315 would be a great score to have. Apart from these two, some sort of research that you would have done, right? So what I would recommend is, let's say, think about something along the lines of either a published paper, some lab work that you have done with a professor, or something along the lines of a conference paper, which is the least of the lot in terms of the priority order. Some amount of research, or if not research, some sort of internships, either projects within college, outside of college. You've gone and helped a startup out with something, you've gone ahead and worked with a big corporate firm, etc. These are four critical elements of a really good profile. If you are someone who falls into this bucket, I think for you, institutions that make sense are as follows. These are all tier one institutions, but again, even within this is going to be a big pile of institutions. Even within this, there's a particular strategy that is going to be required for you to try and identify the right set. For now, don't worry too much about the strategy. Just know what level of institutes we should be looking at. First, the top 10s in the US. All of the top 10s will be open to you if you have a 9+ GPA. If you have an 8+, might only be able to apply to one or two of those. I'm not going to go through the top 10 institutions. We've done a bunch of reels and videos on this. Just go find the top 10s. I'm going to do something that I've never done before. I'm going to talk about institutions that are underrated for computer science specifically. And there are 5 or 6 institutions that come to mind. If you're a tier 1 bucket student, Virginia Tech is the #1 underrated masters in CS. Virginia Tech, in the top 20, top 25 institutes, is probably the only one that gives you a full aid, full ride, full scholarship, along with some money out of pocket for you to do your masters. Virginia Tech is a fantastic fit. Stony Brook, another institution that is very, very cheap in terms of the tuition fee, fantastic in terms of the location within New York City, and in general has the same capability and same jobs that you will be able to get as compared to an NYU or a Columbia, which are easily top 10, top 15, right? So second, the other thing that you have to think about is outside of these two, there's the dark horse, which has been my personal favorite for the last 7 years. And everybody that knows me knows that this is one institution that I make sure to put on every single student's shortlist. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to tell you, if you are scheduling a free consultation and are signing up before the end of the month, I am going to be your personal shortlist mentor. So you and I are going to be doing 4 to 5 conversations to figure out what university makes the most sense for you from your profile's perspective. So I'm going to be leading that charge on making sure that we shortlist the best possible institutions for you. This offer is only going to be open for folks that sign up before the end of the month. So make sure to take up the free consultation first. And then if it makes sense, go ahead and subscribe to some of our services. The third institute that I'm going to be talking about is Texas A&M. Yes, you've heard me say this time and time again, but there is no other institution in the US that has a return on investment in terms of metrics, right? Return on investment is my biggest metric. And there is no other institution that has the biggest return on investment because of the low tuition cost as Texas A&M. One of my personal favorite institutions as well. Therefore, Texas A&M goes right up there in terms of the underrated masters in CS degrees for tier 1 institution/applications bucket. What are others? University of Massachusetts Amherst, another fantastic place. UC California, San Diego, California, Irvine. Both of these outside of the top 25, but one of the best institutions that you can get into in the California side of things. Then there are 2 more in the middle of the country. One is UIUC. UIUC has 2 flavors of the degree, which is my next topic, professional versus non-professional degrees. So UIUC Urbana-Champaign is going to be another pick for the underrated master's degrees in computer science. So is North Carolina State University. All right. So those are a couple of institutions that make sense if you're a tier 1 applicant. Again, keep in mind, I have not named every single institute, because if I start doing that, the entire webinar is going to be catered to just naming institutes and telling you why it makes sense or not. It makes sense for some to apply to some institutions, for others to apply to other institutions. There is no way for me to go in detail of that on a general webinar. Therefore, schedule a free consultation call. We'll be happy to help. Sign up for a service. I will do most of the heavy lifting and give you a list of institutions that make sense for you specifically, given your intentions, given your profile, given your ambition, etc., to actually apply to. All right. So that's tier one. Let's talk about tier two institutions or tier two applications. Anybody from about 7 GPA till about 8.2 GPA. This is what I would recommend. This is what I would classify rather as tier two. For tier two applicants, the kinds of institutions you're looking at, the strategy for that needs to be slightly different. It cannot be, applying to 5 or 10 institutions all in the top 50, top 20, top 30. It does not work. You want to make sure that you are applying to institutions that have a fantastic location. You want to make sure that you are applying to institutions that are lower tuition fee, but have a higher return on investment in terms of the kinds of job opportunities available. And most importantly, you want to make sure that these institutions have the co-op program. And so with that said, you have a GPA between 7 and 8.2. You have either taken the GRE or not. If you've taken it, you have a 310 plus. Might have 1 or 2 internships, no research work at all. For you guys, Northeastern, Arizona State, Texas, Dallas, and University of Illinois, Chicago. These are 4 places that are top of your mind for you 100%. If you have a little more money to spare to get certain things upfront, which is basically the WES evaluation, then the 5th one opens up, which is San Jose State Institution. All right. So Northeastern, Arizona State, UT Dallas, University of Illinois at Chicago, and if you have the WES evaluation, San Jose State. These are 5 institutions that are sort of fantastically set up in terms of their locations. They are very well established co-op programs, and the computer science departments are very, very strong there as well. So these are 5 institutions that make sense if you are tier 2 applicant. All right, that's the end of my monologue. I will complete this actually just 1 more minute with the timeline. We are towards very rapidly approaching the end of April. May till November 1st. November 1st, guys, if you've not heard me say this again and again, I'm going to basically keep doing this as many times as I need to, but November 1st is your internal deadline. If you miss that deadline, your chances of getting into any good institution become lower and lower the later you apply. November 1st is your deadline, which means 3 months before that is when you start writing the essays, which means 2 months before that is when you should have finished your GRE, finished identifying the set of institutions for yourself, and rapidly make progress towards getting all of the application material. Fantastic. I'm going to take a 30-second break and get to the questions. Please go ahead for fall 25. Yes, please go ahead and get started with the questions. I have a bunch of them. Take 30 seconds to upvote questions, guys, so that tells me I'm going to change my filter here to most upvotes, and that's the order in which I'm going to take the questions. All right, I'm going to get started. 30 seconds. Make sure to go ahead and upvote all of the questions. Where do you upvote it? Find the Q&A section, just open that. You should see a list of all of the questions. On that, just go ahead and upvote it. Based on the number of upvotes, I'm going to go ahead and take the questions from here. All right, first question. UC Berkeley has the MS plus PhD program. Can you please explain this? Absolutely. Berkeley has 2 kinds of programs. One, EECS, which is the M engineering program. That's the 1-year professional non-thesis program. And then the second one, which is an MS thesis, which leads into a PhD. So it's not a terminal master's. If you do well, you can get into the PhD. So those are the 2 programs that exist at Berkeley. In order to get to Berkeley, my friend, you should have done some fantastic work. Otherwise, stay away from applications to Berkeley. because the total number of folks that they take in is very, very minimal, and therefore it might not make sense for you to apply to that. So unless you have a 9+ on your GPA, a 322 above, and fantastic research work, do not apply to the master's PhD program. If you don't have similar profile, but without research and WorkX, don't apply to the EECS. All right, let's talk about this one. How to make competitive profile for an Ivy League and CMU for masters in CS. Lovely question. All right, let's break this down into components that exist. First, GPA. In terms of the GPA, you want to make sure that your GPA on a scale of 4, and I will tell you what that conversion looks like, but on a scale of 4, at least a 3.7 and above for any of the top 10 computer science degrees. 3.7 and above. I'm not asking you to go back in time and change that GPA, but if you have the wherewithal to change it from now on for the next couple of semesters, make sure that your GPA goes up and hits that 3.7 mark minimum. What does that translate to in a percentage system? Anywhere above a 75, 78. What does that translate into a 10 scale? Anything above a 8.4. I'm not saying 8.5, 8.2, 8.4. That's the range you want to be in order to hit academically a top 10. Second, GRE. Don't come back to me and say, hey, my ambition is to hit a top 10 masters in CS, but I don't want to give the GRE. That's some BS stupid stuff. Absolutely have to give the GRE. And on the GRE, you've got to score a 320 minimum. 8.2 plus, 320 plus. Now, there are two choices. You want to go apply for a professional master's, non-thesis master's, or a thesis-based, research-based master's degree. If you want to do research-based master's degree, then I want to be able to see at least some amount of research that has been done during your undergrad, either in the form of research papers, in the form of you going and working for a professor and getting a letter of recommendation from that professor saying that you actually did some research, you going and working at a research lab somewhere outside of your undergrad, you going and getting the DARD, Viterbi, MITAC, some scholarship to go do academic research at a different country, or some corporate internship where you focused on some research topics, etc. If you are aiming again for a research-based master's, these are 4 or 5 things that I want to see. If you're aiming for a non-thesis professional master's degree, then I want to be able to see internships. I want to be able to see some sort of corporate work experience. It doesn't have to be full-time. If it is full-time, great. If it's not, that's still okay. As long as there's some work experience, either in the form of internships or full-time, you're okay. All right. That's the third category: academics, GRE, research/work experience. And the fourth one, and this is the one that a lot of students trip up on, is intent. Why am I applying to the university and the course that I'm applying to? What do I want to gain out of the institution? What will I contribute to the institution and to the degree, right? So without that, every application is going to be incomplete. These are the 4 big things you want to have in order to break into a top 10, top 12 masters in computer science. All right, Jeevit has just put up the link to the WhatsApp community. Fun thing that I did last night, I was just getting off my flight, just came back to Hyderabad. And within about 5 minutes, we made a plan to just go live. And there were about 50, 60 of them that I was able to just talk to and take their questions, etc. I'm going to promise to keep doing that over and over. At least one of us will come on live every single week. And so the community is where you will find all answers. Like a bunch of folks are applying. Everybody's on that community. So the link to that WhatsApp community is in the chat. Let's go get the next question. I'm seeing, guys, I don't want to do individual, this is my GPA, this is my profile, do I get in and why? That's not going to help anybody. That will help you, sure, but it's not a generic enough thing that I can answer for a big webinar. Please schedule a free consultation. You will get, I have a bunch of follow-up questions that I need to ask you. There's a bunch of discussion that needs to go in, and then can I give you some advice and answers to some of the questions. But if you ask me, hey, I have 8.5 GPA, how can I improve my profile? I don't know the answer to that without having spoken to you. So this is a request from me. You have an 8.5, which is fantastic. You have it from VIT, which is again fantastic. Just take 30 seconds of your time, go ahead and schedule that free consultation. I will sit in return for that 30 seconds. We will spend 30 minutes of our time to go through every single question that you have. So take that free consultation. All right, let's do this. Is there any master's program which combines AI, cybersecurity, or AI and CS? Every single master's in computer science degree will have specializations or electives in cybersecurity, in artificial intelligence, in data science, in systems, in information management, in HCI, and in a bunch of other fields that you probably not even come across. So the answer to your question is yes, every single master's in computer science degree at a top 50 institution will have some or other version of cybersecurity, AI, and computer science, of course. All right, what kind of profile for masters from San Jose State computer science? The second tier that I talked about, 7.5 to 8.2, 8.3, 310 and above on the GRE. The WES evaluation. Unfortunately, San Jose is a fantastic institution, really good return on investment, but that return on investment comes at an initial cost of about $250. The application fee is also slightly higher, $100, I think, if I'm not wrong. And then on top of that, there's a $250 or so WES conversion. So the upfront amount is slightly on the higher end, but the return on investment, just given the location in the smack dab center of the valley, right? So that's the kind of profile you're looking at for San Jose State. Yeah, University of Florida. Look, when I sit down and do university rankings, it takes me a good 1 month to actually collect information from folks that are at the institution, that are graduating, that have just started to figure out what the curriculum looks like, that have graduated for me to figure out, what the job market looks like for them, etc. University of Florida, unfortunately, does not make it to my list, given a couple of things. One, location. I love Florida, but only in my spring break to go to Miami and the beach. Unfortunately, not too many job opportunities in Florida. So from a location perspective, I felt stifled there. Second, curriculum is fantastic. However, on top of the curriculum, I also need to have some real life career goals that are getting met with the curriculum. And that's another reason why I don't put University of Florida highly in my rankings. Guys, again, sorry, but these are not questions I'm going to be able to answer because these are very, very specific to your profile. That's not what we are here to do today. If you have questions with regards to computer science, let's go ahead and do that. In 30 seconds, how do you expect me to answer the entire profile? Come on, like this is just. When is the A to Z? It's over, my friend. We will do more. Ask for a recording. Let's do this. For people that do not have a computer science background, and I'm guessing there are a lot of you, so this is a perfect question. I've been working as an electrical engineer or an electronics engineer, and I do semiconductor stuff. It's not related to computer science, but I want to do a master's in computer science. Can I get into a really good computer science, and what are the prospects given my profile? This is the quintessential example of a profile that I would want to talk about without going into the specifics of, hey, this is my GPA, without being snotty about, hey, this is my GRE, etc. If you are a non-computer science undergrad, the first thing you want to make sure is on your transcript, do you have the 4 or 5 prerequisites? If the answer is yes, 100% qualified to do a master's in computer science, go ahead and apply. You have a decent shot of getting into the good ones, provided the rest of the profile is good. If you do not have the prerequisites, the 5 prerequisites that I talked about on your transcript, then you are probably better off doing one out of these 2 things. Applying to a lower tier master's in computer science, just to make sure you're able to get in, or applying to an information systems or a software engineering or a data science degree, because even with these, you are able to take computer science electives and break into the software or the computer science industry. right? So for non-computer science guys, civil, mechanical, electrical, ECE, CE, chemical, like me, etc., right? Any of you, if you do not have the prerequisite courses on your transcripts, you are much better off applying to the peripheral computer science degrees as compared to the core computer science master's degree, just to make sure that your chances of getting in are higher, just to make sure that you get in first. Take as many electives as you want to from the computer science master's program or the department, and then claw your way into the computer science industry without compromising on the overall institution or the course brand value that you get. So fantastic question. Thank you for this. These are the kinds of questions I'm happy to answer. Hello is not a question. Can you share about your experience at CMU? Sure. I've said this multiple times on videos, on calls, on wherever I get a megaphone. CMU was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, considering also the fact that I've been running Gradvine for the last 7 years and talk to about 10,000 students every season, right? Nothing compares to that 1.5 year that I spent at CMU. It's just, in the words of my graduation speaker, who was my cohort mate, CMU broke me down into a million pieces, gave me the tools to put all of these million pieces back together, just to break them down again. I cannot stress the fact of how rigorous the coursework was, how challenging it was for me to go there. But in the end, the day of my graduation, when I look back now, 10 years later, exactly 10 years later, by the way, I now know that it was all worth it. One of the biggest skills that I have gotten after CMU is, leave the technical skill aside, leave the fact that I can code in Python in my sleep, all of that aside, right? The biggest thing that CMU has given me as a skill is the fact that in 24 hours, I can go from 0 to 1 on any topic anywhere across the world. And that confidence that anything in this world is figure outable is not something that I would have had without CMU. And I'm 100% sure that this is true of all of the top 25, top 30 rigorous master's degree. Not just CMU. I went to only CMU, so I know about that. But a lot of people that I've spoken to in the last, and then when I say lot, upwards of 20, 30,000 students that we've talked to over the past 7 years, every single one of them becomes this fantastic version of themselves that can go from 0 to 1 very, very quickly. So that's my experience at CMU. Top 50 university chances for a mid-career professional switching back into CS from finance. I'm hoping again that your undergraduate background was computer science. If your undergraduate background was computer science, irrespective of what you've done after that, either finance or software engineering or marketing even, it is not going to be difficult for you to move back into computer science. However, if your undergraduate background was never computer science to begin with, make sure that you have the prerequisites. Make sure that the way you structure your statement of purpose is very pointed towards why I want to do CS. What have I done to prepare for a master's in CS degree? And for all of this, we are your best partners. Last year, we've had, I was just counting, about 150 acceptances to the top 10 computer science programs. So from that perspective, your best partners to help you get into the fantastic institutions there are. All right, GPA-centric colleges in terms of the intake. Sure. So GPA-centric colleges, every single Ivy League institution is a GPA-centric college. Michigan, Georgia Tech, Berkeley, LA, San Diego, Irvine. The entire California system is very, very GPA-centric. UT Austin, Michigan, Penn, Columbia, these are also a few more examples of GPA-centric institutions. Shreya, I'm not going to be able to do that. Just a GPA, a couple of conference papers, what universities can I target for CS? Look, the GPA is fantastic, but I don't know anything apart from the GPA about you. I don't know why you want to do a computer science degree if you have a CS undergrad. So many questions that I need to first be able to get answers to before I can answer the question that you've posed. Please, for the love of God, just please go ahead and schedule a free consultation call. This is one of the questions that I had yesterday on the live session. What differentiates the applicants of a top 10 computer science to everyone that's outside of the top 10? I'm going to keep this to top 10 versus the top 50. Both top 10s and top 50s have the same base foundational elements covered: GPA, GRE, some sort of research, yes, no, maybe, it doesn't matter, some sort of internship slash work-ex. So what then differentiates someone that goes to a top 10 versus a top 50 US institution for a master's in CS? The big difference is the justification of why you're applying to the particular university and what you as an individual can contribute to the cohort. The biggest myth that floats around in admissions in general is that the more well-rounded your profile is, the better your chances of getting in are. Absolute BS. Universities are not looking to build well-rounded, not looking to get well-rounded students. That's not what they want. Admissions committees are not saying, hey, this guy has a good GPA, also done this, also has extracurriculars, also has this, also has that. That's not how admissions committees work. Admissions committees want to build the most well-rounded classrooms, which means that everybody that's coming in is an expert at something or the other. And so for you to be able to say, hey, I am good at this, and this is going to be my meaningful contribution to the cohort at XYZ institution. That's the biggest thing that's going to be able to get you into a top 10 versus a top 50. Provided, of course, all the base criteria is satisfied, right? So you want to be able to talk about, boss, I've done software engineering all my life. I know the difference, or I'm able to bug test very, very easily just based on some unit tests I had run at my previous firm. And so this knowledge of taking unit tests, making them into specific domain knowledge that I have created for myself is something that I will bring to the cohort and share with my cohort mates. This is going to be the biggest learning that I have had that I will add value to everybody else that's coming in. And that's why you should take me, right? So that level of specificity is what is required for you to be able to get in. Oh, man. IT Kharagpur, aerospace engineer, CGPA. Yes, of course, man. Set up a call. I have a 9.95 university gold medalist. Should I appear for the GRE? My friend, there's a very, very simple answer to this, which is a yes. There's a little more complex justification for it. If you have a minute, I'd love to take you through it. You have a 9.95. I'm assuming this is not from an IIT or a BITS, because neither of these two institutions usually give out a 9.95. If you have a 9.95, you should have zero problem cracking the GRE. You should have literally zero problem taking the GRE and scoring a 320 plus, because the GRE is a 10th grade quantitative and English verbal ability. Why would you not want to take the GRE and show off the fact that you have a 9.95 and also have a 330 on the GRE? What do you lose by giving the GRE? So 100% give the GRE. Another question. Does every university give early admits, or depends on university to university? It depends on the university. There are a couple that will give out early admits, and the two biggest names in the early admit columns are University of Pennsylvania and Columbia. Both of these compete like no other institutions. When it comes to masters in computer science, these are the first two that have a deadline. These are the first two that compete with each other and give out admits as early as December. So imagine this. You're in college, you haven't graduated yet, you've applied in November, by December, you get your results, and you are not set to graduate till the next year of May. You have an entire semester to chill, to go to Goa, to actually absolutely party before you head on to a master's in computer science. So highly recommend applying early. There are other institutions that also do early applications. Just get on a free consultation, and I will be happy to share which ones make sense. Tell us best universities for MS and CS in general. Okay, I'm going to do something that I shouldn't be, but if you open google.com, it should open up your browser. It should give you Google search. Just type out top 10 MSCS, you'll get a list. Type out top 50 MSCS, you'll get a list. You don't need me to tell you what are the good or top ranked masters in computer science. I can be a parrot and parrot that off. MIT, Carnegie Mellon, Georgia Tech, Michigan, in no particular order, Berkeley, all of these, right? But that's not that. How is that going to add any value to you? I don't know what your profile is. I don't know what you've done. I don't know what your interests are. I don't know what your ambition is. Once I get to know all of these, I am more than happy to give you a customized list for your profile. How many CMU and Ivy League admits has Gradvine got? Jeevan just put out some statistics. There were about 75 Ivy League admits for fall 2024 and 1,000 to the top 50. What were their profiles like? Okay, good question. Let me break down some of the profiles that have gotten into the Ivies or Carnegie Mellon types. Akshat Kaushal, BITS 9.1 or 9.2, 328, had research, had really good papers, did a, if I'm not wrong, an internship outside of India at an academic institution, got into Penn, got into Columbia, got into Carnegie Mellon. Sahajpreet Singh, I think, similar profile, 9 point something, worked at Microsoft for 2 years, applying, got into Carnegie Mellon. Who else? Jaspreet, USC, had a 9+, went to USC. Some folks had a 8.6, 8.7 that got into Penn as well. There were a couple of people that got into Carnegie Mellon's SE and CS programs with an 8.8 last year, or rather fall 24. 2 Georgia Tech profiles with a 9.2, 332 on the GRE, and fantastic research work. That's what helped them get out, right? So those were a couple of ideas. Another fantastic question. Systems as a specialization. I'm doing, or I want to do a master's in computer science with a systems specialization. Is this the right place to go to if I want to do cloud? Absolutely, yes. If you already have an undergraduate degree in computer science, then it makes the most sense for you to go take a master's in computer science with a systems specialization. If you want to directly practice outside of the systems, there's another specialization, the software engineering specialization, which also might make sense for you. At some institutions, there's a cloud computing specialization. For example, at Carnegie Mellon, there's an MS in CS with a cloud computing specialization. Those are the 3 specializations you want to make sure that you take up. Fantastic question again. 5 institutes, 5 universities that have a non-thesis professional master's degree. I don't know if I will be able to get to 5, but let's see. Virginia Tech, UIUC, Texas A&M, University of Massachusetts Amherst, UCLA, Berkeley's M Engineering might not count as purely non-thesis, but Berkeley's M Engineering degree. What else? Wisconsin-Madison, North Carolina State. These are 8. You asked for 5, I give you 8. Which tier do UT Austin and Georgia Tech come under? Tier 0. If there's truly a tier 0, tier 1, and tier 2, tier 0 is where both of these institutions are going to be. It's as good as it gets. Georgia Tech, Austin, Michigan, Stanford, Carnegie Mellon, MIT. 6 institutions, tier 0. All right, I think the number of questions that we have is just keeping on increasing. Guys, you're not upvoting. I can't see questions at the top. Please make sure to upvote. If my target is to get into the job industry post-masters, what do you suggest, thesis or professional? If you are 100% certain that you are not going to be doing a PhD later on, then go to a professional master's. Do not bother about research. I want to know your fall 2024 top CS admits. Um, Gradvine is famous amongst VIT students. Hopefully, we've been to VIT so many times. Fall 2024 CS admits. Jivit, let's make a post on this. Let me rant out a few admits, but we'll formally put out something for you as well. 2 Georgia Techs, 3 or 4 CMUs. If I remember right, 5 University of Pennsylvania's. We had 2 Duke CS admits this year, 1 University of Michigan admit, 1 Berkeley M Engineering admit, 1 Berkeley MS PhD admit, 1 Stanford CS admit. UCLA, a couple of non-thesis, correct, professional non-thesis programs, a couple of them. San Diego, there were there were about 4 or 5 San Diego admits. Virginia Tech, 2 people, fully funded, plus $3,000 on top stipend. 2 people. These are the ones that I can remember. But of course, we are collating a bunch of stuff. We do this exercise every year where we put out the report and everything. So we'll go ahead and do that. How hard is to get an internship during the master's degree? Yes. Okay. Let's get to the job stuff during your master's. If you go to a top 10, top 20, top 30, if you go to anything 0 to 30 for a master's in CS, there is no way that you do not get an internship. There is no way you do not get a full-time role. Unless you've royally screwed up something, there is no way you are jobless. If you go to a top 50, the struggle is harder. The amount of time it takes for you to get there is slightly longer. But again, within 6 months of graduation, everybody that I have seen that has graduated from a top 50 CS has gotten a job. So that's not going to be a problem. What should be my timeline if I start now and aim for spring 2024? Spring 2024 is over. So I'm guessing that you're talking about spring 2025. Spring, for everybody that is unacquainted, is January of 2025, right? Jan 2025, if you want to get into. July, August is when the deadlines are going to be. But you want to get in your application in June. June of 2024. Just again, rule of thumb, guys, very simple. Let me take out the whole guessing game out of it. You want to get into any program in a particular year, let's say August. Subtract 1 year. 1 year before that is when you need to get started on your application. Simple as that. If you want to get into January 2025, January 2024 is when you start getting serious about the application. Simple. That's the timeline. Don't complicate it. Don't look at multiple figures, pose, whatever. Just follow that 1 year timeline. Yeah, you should be okay. All right, I have a couple of other meetings, so I'm going to be able to take maybe 2 or 3 more questions. But even before everybody starts to exit, a couple of things. First, I am not going to be able to answer questions like, hey, this is my profile, even though I want to, I genuinely want to. And this is what I spend the majority of my day, taking as many free consultations as I can, right? So please go ahead and schedule your free consultation call, because that's the only way for me to ask you certain questions, get a sense of what you're thinking, identify what your weak spots are, give you advice on strengthening those, and then customize whatever needs to be customized for you. So please go ahead and set that up. Second, for whoever that is planning to give the GRE, we have some absolutely fantastic perks. First, Magoosh has partnered with us to give out 1 free practice test. So that's going to be available to you. Take that free consultation on the call. Make sure to ask for the Magoosh free test. We'll get that done. Could you please upload that part too? I don't know if I'll be able to upload that, but we'll see. Second, on the free consultation, ask for the resume template. Yeah. So take that, put your resumes in that template, higher chances of getting in straight off the bat. Next, GRE waiver. We have a few discount coupons for the actual GRE and the TOEFL exam. So both of those are also available. Make sure to ask them. Just on the free consultation, for 30 seconds of your time to book it and show up, you're getting about 10,000 bucks worth of money in return, right? Yes, anybody who's working, not working, in college, outside of college, anything, anybody can take the free consultation. So yes, please go ahead and book that, right? For 30 seconds of your time, you're literally getting 10,000 bucks. One additional thing that I am going to throw in, because I still have time that I can do, is if you sign up for any of our services before the end of the month, I will make sure that I am the person that does your shortlisting end to end. We will sit down for 4 or 5 different conversations, figure out one-on-one which universities make sense for you, which don't, and make sure that I give you the list personally vetted. Yeah. So that's the additional benefit that you will have. Apart from that, where else can you find some resources? The WhatsApp group is promising and shaping up to be a really good place for you to find resources. YouTube, please go and see a bunch of videos that we put up. Everything that you asked me today have been covered in one or the other videos. So go ahead and take care of that. We will make sure to upload the recording of this onto YouTube as well so that everybody is able to watch it. Next, where else can you find resources? We have a bunch of GRE resources, prep resources that we will be able to give you. Just make sure to ask for that on the free consultation call. All right. Before I end the session today, any other last questions, last few questions that you want me to talk about? Just go ahead and upvote something. Don't put in a new question, just upvote something. I'll take 1 or 2 questions. Third-year student here will graduate in 2025. So if you're graduating 2025, which means it's next year. So you have to apply by the end of this year. Simple. November 1st, 2024. If you're graduating in 2025, 1 year before that is when you need to apply. Again, on the GRE, which universities, my friend, have said that they will not review the GRE? GRE is optional, which means that if you submit it, they will consider it. Last year's records show us that if you have a GRE, you have a higher likelihood of getting in as compared to someone who has a very simple profile, very similar profile as you, apart from the GRE. All right. Fantastic session. I think, as usual, there are, oh man, so many questions that I have not been able to get to as usual. Some of you guys, if you're really interested, just ping me on LinkedIn. I'm going to find some time. Another thing that I'm going to do, first things first, I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you so much for coming in. Fantastic session as usual. We're going to be doing a lot more of these webinars. So stick around, follow us on social media, and come sign up for the next webinar. Yeah.